Hello, my name is Hakon and welcome back to my channel, all you long-suffering fighting fantasy aficionados. If you try to keep up with my fighting fantasy videos, you might be long-suffering from having watched so many. If you have been so up to date for a long time, you might be long-suffering simply from there being so little fighting fantasy content on my channel these days, or content of any kind, because of things. In any case, today I am getting started on Fighting Fantasy book number 32, Slaves of the Abyss, which looks a little bit sci-fi on the cover, but the blurb indicates it might be more of a fantasy story. We'll find out as we dive into it. I don't know anything about this one whatsoever. And for those who try to keep track, of course, and see if they can figure out how long it's been since last time I made a fighting fantasy video, one way to do it, of course, an indication is the bookshelf, if there are any changes. Not a huge change from last time. You may have seen there's some small additions, which is, oh, hang on, it's up there. There are some new David Attenborough books, and I do believe that my David Attenborough collection is pretty much complete now. There's no particular book that I'm on the lookout for anymore. I think I have all the ones that were on my list. I'm going to make a video about those someday. Anyway, right, I don't think I have anything further to announce before I actually get started, so I'll just swap my view now to my overhead desk view, move the mouse out of the way as I usually forget to do before I swap views, and get started. So these are my supplies today, pen as well, and book, and my map. No dice, no character sheet. Well, I don't know if I need those yet. The thing is, this has been the trend now for me for quite a long time, that gradually I have felt less and less of a need to roll the dice. I find the dice a little bit intrusive and sometimes boring and dull as well, being a random element in what is otherwise a game based on choice. So I'm going to usually try to reduce these books now down to choices rather than the rolling of dice, which of course you can ignore if you think of ignoring them as a way to save time, because you could have made the same choices, rolled the dice over and over and over again in the same places, and eventually got the result as if no dice had been rolled at all. So unless there are some specific rules in this one that really need rolling of the dice. So, oh, time sheet. Okay, so there's some kind of time element here, which means I will probably have to have not necessarily a character sheet per se, but definitely something in addition to a map to keep track of something. Okay, Slaves of the Abyss, blah blah blah, introduction. Let's just see if there's anything special going on here, rule-wise. In this book, you are a famous adventurer in the lands of Alancia, the veteran of many battles and the doer of many fine deeds. So I suppose it could be a continuation of one of the characters you've carried through a few of the other books before. Okay. Strength, no. Skill, stamina, luck, combat, which I will ignore. Escaping is a thing. Fighting more than one opponent. It says the instructions are in the book, which is the usual thing. Instant death, it says here. You are a mighty warrior with a blade of finest fang-thaned steel. Whenever you roll a double 6 in battle, you have scored a killing blow on your opponent. The battle ends straight away and you are the victor. I do like that one. I've actually been missing a critical hit kind of aspect to the combat system. You may inflict killing blows on your opponents only if you're using your sword. If you ever lose the sword, you will forfeit this special ability, which seems fair. Luck in battles, restoring skill, stamina, and luck equipment, and then we have equipment. Of course, another thing that I do, I mean, regardless of ignoring dice, I don't ignore things that still are based on choice, like, for instance, items. And gold pieces, for instance. I will not pretend I have gold if I don't have gold. So you have 5 gold pieces left from your last adventure, it says. And then there is keeping track of time. So the important stats I will have to make a note of are gold, 5, and then there's something about time. So how do I keep track of time? Let's see. The adventure which lies ahead of you is a race against time. A grave threat hangs over Calamere, and only by quick and resourceful action will you be able to defeat it. As you make your choices, from time to time you will find instructions to tick off a time box. Whenever you come upon one of these, you should make a pencil mark in the first available empty box on the timesheet provided on the inside front cover, which has 1, 2. Okay, so I'll just copy that one out. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Followed by 6. Followed by 4. Nice how it's shaped like hourglass. The sands of time running out. It says 57 there, and then it says 320. I might need my reading glasses for that one, but see what to make doubly sure whether it's a 6 or an 8. Okay, let's see. 326. Yeah, that's what I thought, but it's nice to be certain. Okay. Oh, and I've lost my place now. Yes, whenever you come upon one of these, you should make a pencil mark in the first available empty box provided. Start with the box on the top left, move from left to right, top to bottom. The boxes represent time running out for Calamere. They do not correspond to an exact length of time. 2 of the time boxes have numbers in them. Wherever you are when you reach these, you should make a note of your current paragraph number, then turn at once to the paragraph number given in the box, which is what I was expecting when I saw that. You will find it easy to be diverted from the true path throughout this adventure. On your first attempt, you will probably run out of time or even meet with an untimely end. To succeed, you will have to think hard about each choice you make. You will succeed in the adventure only if you do the right things at the right times. Now, it says you have to think hard about each choice you make. Does that mean that the choices are not going to be purely random? Do you actually get good hints? That remains to be seen. No matter how weak your initial die rolls, it should be fairly easy to complete the adventure if you can find the true path. Right. Background. These are troubled times in Calamere. No sooner had its ruler, Lady Carolina, got over the death of her husband when she was flung into a war with a rival trading state, Alchemists. After a sea battle in which many lives were lost, it seemed that Calamere had prevailed, yet there was more to come. Rumors spread of armies massing on the northern borders. Beihan, never a friendly neighbor, was said to be preparing for an invasion. Acting decisively, Lady Carolina ordered all her armies to the northern borders. The mountain passes on the borders could be defended with ease. If the armies of Beihan were allowed to reach the wide plains of Calamere, however, they would wreak untold damage. You arrive in Calamere just as the last troop of soldiers are departing. You find yourself in a city strangely deserted. Life goes on, but without the many brightly costumed warriors who used to parade so proudly down Calamere's winding streets. With the soldiers gone, the criminals thrive. You bar the door of your room at night and sleep with your sword beside your bed. A few weeks pass. Then one morning a wild-eyed messenger rides into the city, yelling incoherent warnings of an invasion from the east. Less than an hour after he disappears into the palace, a servant brings you a note on stationery bearing the seal of the House of Rangor. It is a summons to appear before Lady Carolina herself. It seems your fame as an adventurer has reached her, and in these dark days the lady has need of fearless warriors. When you arrive at the palace, you find yourself in the company of 10 other adventurers. Several are known to you by sight, and one Sophia of Blacksand by name, as you have shared dangers with her on more than one occasion. Whatever that means. Before you have a chance to exchange names and greetings with the others, you are led inside by a servant. You are ushered into an audience chamber to face 5 nobles behind a huge black wooden table. In the center sits Lady Carolina, resplendent in ceremonial jewelry. The sword of office on the table before her. To her left is her cousin Maderios. I'll go with Maderios. A fat fellow with a nervous twitch in his nose. Beyond him sits Dunyazad of Ichtiam, a small woman who is reputed to be the wealthiest person in Calamer province. To Carolina's right are Sage the Silent, an imposing woman of ancient lineage, and Azaya al-Budur, a stern-faced judge. Truly, you face the 5 most important people in Calamer. You bow. And Carolina swiftly explains the situation. With the army many leagues to the north, Calamer lies unguarded. Now a messenger has arrived from the easternmost regions, telling of villages found deserted. It seems that an army is advancing on the city from the east. It must be barbarian raiders from Kulak Isle. A rider must be dispatched at once to fetch back half of Calamer's army. Meanwhile, the city must be defended in some way. Carolina explains that her loyal champion Ramades, the invincible, most feared warrior in all the southern lands, is away on a quest for a fabled relic. She praises you all for your past gallantry and asks that you help her and gain the gratitude of the whole province by undertaking the defense of the city. You may be few in number, but surely the glory will be all the greater. Now turn to paragraph 1. How can you refuse such an appeal? Oh, let's see. Mapping is starting. Okay, so as usual from the bottom. Number 1. How can you refuse such an appeal? The other 10 are quick to volunteer for the task, and your voice joins theirs in pledging allegiance to Lady Carolina. This is your chance to become more than a wandering adventurer. You'll be a true hero of legend. You listen as the 5 nobles begin to lay plans. One of you must ride to the northern passes and summon the army. Another must ride east to scout out the invaders. The rest must remain in Calamer and use all their wits and ingenuity to prepare a defense. What do you intend to do? Now, this sounds like a replayability thing, actually, where there are actually 3 possible courses to victory, presumably. Now, because you can volunteer to ride north, you can volunteer to scout in the east, or remain in the city. And I presume, because it would be quite unfair otherwise, I think, if it wasn't possible to win with either of those 3 choices, and it's just presumed that whoever has the other 2 tasks do their job perfectly, and it all hinges on whatever you are tasked to do. In any case, it could be 3. That means that also that these 3 paths probably don't really cross each other much as well. So we got 92, 104, or 288. So remain, scout, or north. Now, for somehow, I feel the most tempting option to me right now is to volunteer to scout to the east. So I'm going to do that, 104. You are sitting at the table with the 5 nobles, eating a fine meal to fortify you as they give you your final briefing. They are being waited on by their own servants, while Carolina has assigned one of her pages to take care of you. Madeiros warns you against taking any incautious action yourself. It is most important that you return to tell us of the nature of this menace so that we may know how best to defend against it, he explains, while Dunyazad is in the middle of advising you to rest at the temple of Furga. You feel a light touch on your leg. You look around and see the page who was waiting upon you walking away. Looking down, into your lap you see a folded fragment of paper. The page must have dropped this as he refilled your goblet. If you pick it up to read straight away, turn to 264. If you slip it into your pocket to read later, turn to 23. Okay, so this is intriguing. Now, the piece of paper may have been dropped accidentally. It may have been dropped on purpose as a message to me from someone about something. I am guessing, because this is typical of these kinds of stories, it is usually an inside job. Somebody in court, one of these five nobles, I am guessing, is a traitor. It's almost a cliche, but it's a cliche because it's true. It's much easier to perform an invasion if you have some spy at a high level in a country or a province in this case. So later or now. I'm going to try to sneak a peek at it right now. I hopefully won't alert anyone who may be implicated by the information therein, if there is such a thing. Let's find out. You unfold the scrap of paper. On it is written, "Beware, you are watched by 1,000 eyes." You ponder what this strange message can mean, but are brought out of your reverie when you realize that you are being addressed by Dunyazad of Ikhtiam. She seems insulted that you have failed to hear her question and scowls at you. At the same time, the hairs on the nape of your neck prickle. You feel certain that someone in the room is watching you carefully, a little too carefully. The meal is over. You prepare to depart. Turn to 234. So maybe not a good idea to actually look at it right away, because now you missed something that may have been a clue as well, but we'll find out. 234. As you make your way down to the courtyard, you hear a blood-curdling scream. Diving through the door nearby, you find yourself in the kitchen. A figure wreathed in flames staggers about the room as various servants vainly fling water at it. After a few seconds, the fiery figure collapses. The cook turns to you. "It's Janas the page. He just ran in here, clutching his chest, and flung himself on the fire," she says. "The boy is dead." Though shocked and mystified by the tragedy, you prepare to leave. You can do nothing here. Turn to 140. So it might be that this page got murdered for having tried to communicate something to you in secret. That's what I'm thinking. You are led straight down to the stables to choose your horse. While you are preparing to leave, tall Sage approaches. Her voice is low, almost inaudible. And you understand how she came to be called the Silent. She tells you that she has a valuable magical item which will aid you on your journey. I have a very valuable magic item that will aid you on your journey. And bring you the luck of the gods. It is a pomander of rare herbs. If worn around your neck, it will also remove your need for sleep. Yeah, okay. Bit skeptical, but it is passed up to you by Sage's servant, a poor deformed creature who shuffles slowly and wears a hood, no doubt to hide his piteously ugly face. Sage quietly wishes you a safe and fruitful journey. Have a safe and fruitful journey. Bundling together your possessions, you hurry into the bustling courtyard. With no time for ceremony, you mount your steed and pick your way through the crowd to the gate. A swift ride along the way of flint brings you to Calamer's grand gate. Turn to 329. You ride until nightfall. Although you are eager to press on, your horse is tired, and it would be too dangerous to continue in the darkness. You dismount and prepare for a night to be spent in the open. Tick off a time box. If the time box is, well, not really in view, so I'll just do a little dot there, because I'm going to use this over and over again, of course. Or maybe, oh wow, I know how to do it now. First playthrough, I put a number 1. There you go. Yes, there we go. Yes, if you have Sage's pomander, turn to 63. If not, turn to 367. So we have Okay. So that was Pomander. Okay, so 63 or 3, 6, 7. So that is Pom or not. Do you have the Pomander? You tether your horse and see to her feed. Lighting a small fire for protection, you settle yourself down for the night. Hours pass as you gaze up at the constellations above you. You remember Sage explaining her Pomander's power to arrest sleep. You are grateful for its properties when you observe several stealthy forms approaching. You lie still, feigning sleep. Your hand inches from your sword hilt. If you wait until they are nearly upon you before attacking, turn to 214. If you leap up before they advanced further, turn to 348. Okay. Let's see, wait. I'm going to wait a little bit, see if that gives me an advantage. There are 3 dark shapes. As they creep into the firelight, you see that they are black elves. 2 of them begin to go through your baggage, while the 3rd approaches you warily. Choosing your moment with care, you wait until the elf is bending over you before acting. Your sword sweeps in a wide arc, coming to a juddering halt in his side. He crumples and you leap to your feet, jerking your sword from the lifeless body. The other 2 elves turn with a yelp, dropping your possessions. Turn to 120. So just common thieves. You must now fight the other 2 elves. So that is, let's see, I'll just move a little bit this way. So 7, 6, and 7, 6. Fight both the elves at the same time. Each will make a separate attack, etc., etc. If you defeat the elves, turn to 311. 311, and of course I'm not using dice, so I'm going to 311 because I will win eventually. You search the bodies of the elves, discovering 17 gold pieces. So our gold is now up to 22. Golden statuette shape of a fist. So let's put a pomander. Gold statuette. Fist. The fingers are clenched around something that rattles as you pick up the golden trophy. Try as you might, you cannot unclench the fingers to reveal what lies within. Turn to 163. So 163. So here we have 17 gold and fist. Let's put fist. 163. Okay. The rest of the night passes uneventfully, and with the morning you resume your journey. The leagues stretch on and you see a range of mountains in the distance ahead of you. You pass through several villages and are surprised at the surly reactions of the villagers. As you pass them, you hear them muttering under their breath, and when you stop to refill your water bottle, they do their best to ignore you. Okay. The sun is low in the sky when you enter the small town of Hasra, in which lies the Temple of Forga. You could travel a few more hours if you wished, but you would have to spend another night in the open. Tick off a time box. You won. If you ride on, turn to 26. If you seek hospitality at the Temple of Forga, turn to 4. I was told that I should go to Forga, so I'm going to stop here and see. There might be some clues, something that can help me in my quest. 26 or 4. So press on or Forga. Forga is the god of pride. and his priests here in Hasra certainly have their fair share. The old man who admits you to the temple looks you up and down coldly, saying not a word. You are led in to see the high priest, a wrinkled, venerable old fellow who eyes you with distaste. So the lone dog dares to darken our portals once more with its presence, he snarls in a voice surprisingly firm for one of his age. Perhaps you would care to empty your backpack for us. Oh. Do they think I stole something? Maybe the golden fist is something stolen from the temple, in which case I might be in trouble. Let's find out. If you agree to empty your backpack, turn to 15. If you refuse, turn to 390. I'm going to agree. 15, 390. Refuse. Agree. I'm going to agree to do that and go to paragraph 15, and there it says, you tip all your possessions out onto the floor before the high priest, wondering what the old fool is trying to prove. Priests of Foga aren't usually quite so arrogant. If you have the golden fist, turn to 73. If you don't have it, turn to 3. Okay, so... I knew it was something to do with the golden fist. So 73 or 379. Fist and no. So I do have the fist. Probably belongs to these guys, and they probably think I stole it. As the golden statuette tumbles out of your backpack, a sigh goes up from the priests. Caught red-handed, snaps the high priest. How can I be caught red-handed? I was led into the temple by the priests. A priest lifts the golden fist reverently from the ground and places it carefully on a plinth in the center of the temple. His fellows then join him in a circle around it, and they begin to chant. As the priests seem to have temporarily forgotten you, you would like to make a stealthy exit from the temple, but your feet are rooted to the spot. The priest's chanting swells, and a warm green glow begins to seep through the fingers of the fist. As you watch, the fingers uncurl, revealing a green gem. It floats lazily above the now open palm of the golden hand. Its glow is too bright for you to bear. Then it subsides, and you find yourself free to move. The priests have been transformed, no longer heavy with years. Now they are young, fit, fighting priests. Two of them break from the circle and gesture for you to accompany them. They lead you down a corridor to a cell. Cross the golden fist off your possessions and turn to 353. Okay, I feel like I'm being very unfairly treated by these people. I just arrived. Clearly the fist has been gone for some time. And, yeah. You spend an unpleasant hour pacing up and down the cell, wondering what can have gone wrong. Dunyaza told you to stay at this temple. Oh, I think I see what's going on now. Dunyaza told me to stay at the temple. He has paid the black elves to put the fist into my bags. So if I'd been asleep, I would not have woken up. The fist would have been in my bag, and I wouldn't have known. I would have gone to the temple. I would have thought, oh, I don't have anything in my bag. But then, yeah. How does the book know? So maybe if you say you don't have the fist, maybe, just maybe, looks like you get arrested regardless. Anyway, yeah, anyway, that's the theory, working theory at the moment. So maybe Dunyazad is a traitor, and Sage is somebody who's genuinely trying to help me, because without Sage's pomander, I wouldn't have been able to stop them. But yeah, anyway, it's interesting either way. Dunyazad told you to stay at this temple. Why should the priests be so hostile? Eventually you are released. The high priest explains that he has spoken with Dunyazad, and you are now to go free to continue your mission. He seems loath to release you. Nevertheless, you soon find yourself back in the streets of Hasra with your possessions returned. Okay, that's a bit weird. It's a bit weird. Okay, then I'm not sure again what to make of that whole spectacle. I suppose if I hadn't stayed here now, I would have had the fist. I would have been able to do something with it, perhaps later. We don't know. Maybe we will find out in future playthroughs. 136. Your journey continues once more, as you attempt to make up some of the time you have lost. If you decide to cut across country, turn to 287. If you decide to, if you stick to the roads, turn to 256. 256 roads, cut across 287. Cut. I'm going to try to cut across, see if that aids me in any fashion. You find that going is hard across country, and you waste precious time trying to find the best way around a wood before getting back onto a road. I thought as much. That is therefore not a good option. You probably don't lose so much time there. So that's 2 ticks and 2 ticks. Okay. And turn to 7. I really should keep track of where the ticks are as well. The time ticks. This was where there was a tick. And where was the other tick again? I'm not sure now. Anyway, I'll make a note of it next time. Down to 7. You are beginning to feel that you are going to spend the rest of your life in the saddle. The weather is strangely humid for the time of year, and the occasional gusts of wind from the east brings little comfort. They are tainted by a fetid, sickly sweet stench, or maybe the invading horde is actually made up of the empty villages that are being reanimated as zombies. I actually thought that earlier, but yeah. The road passes through a jumble of massive boulders, and a jagged scarp rises on your left. Ahead of you, another settlement huddles beneath a huge overhang of rock. Strangely, no smoke rises from it. As you approach, you notice several objects littering the road: shoes, bowls, and tools. You dismount and enter the village cautiously, finding a desolate street, empty of people and littered with debris. Yes. From one of the buildings to your right, you can hear a faint knocking sound. Will you follow the knocking, search the buildings to your left, or hurry out of the village and press on? This is where I will go to the next page. Let's see, just to mark this properly. This is FF32, page number 1. And then we have FF32, page number 2. I'll just duplicate number 7 there. And then we have 3 options. Now, it is 3, 4, 9, 1, 2, 8, and 22. Let's say leave, search, or follow the knocking. I'm going to follow the knocking. The knocking sound is coming from a large stone building which has a sign outside: Strange Can's Wine Emporium. Cautiously, you open the door and enter, stepping carefully over broken bottles. The shop is wrecked from top to bottom, and the floor is puddled with spilled wine. A slow, regular thumping is coming from behind the counter. Peering over it, you see a trapdoor set into the floor. A cask is wedged between the counter and the wall, preventing the trapdoor from being opened. If you try to open the trapdoor, turn to 59. If you leave the shop and look in the other buildings, turn to 128. So now I don't have the option of just leaving straight, which is probably because I will have a tick of time added to my time counter. Now I'm quite sure of that. This is probably a trapped something, a trapped zombie or something. Maybe I'll open it because it'll give me an idea what's going on here. So I'll open the trapdoor. It is You dislodge the cask and grasp the iron ring of the trapdoor. No sooner have you jerked the trapdoor open than a pair of arms shoot out. Your legs are tugged sharply and you tumble down a short flight of stone steps, landing with a splash. You black out. You are brought around by a stinging blow to your head. Deduct 1 stamina point. Usually a blow to the head doesn't actually bring you back. It actually knocks you out, doesn't it? Your mouth is full of warm vinegared wine. You're sitting in the lake of the stuff, a foot deep, and facing you is a bedraggled wretch who swings at you once more with surprising vigor. Choking on the wine, you dodge his blow and stagger to your feet. You must defend yourself. Ratch skill 6, 8. Okay. 2, 2, 2. I will win that battle, of course, as usual. Eventually. Saving time. Saving a lot of time. The corpse tumbles backwards into the wine, which laps over it. You pause a moment, but there is no motion. If you examine the body, turn to 142. If you wish to leave the cellar straight away, turn to 297. So 142 and 297. Leave. Examine. So I'm going to examine the body, see if there are any clues to what's going on here. You wade through the wine towards the spot where the body fell. As you peer down into the murky depths, an arm shoots up from the wine and grabs your leg. Caught off balance, you tumble headfirst into the dark liquid. A moment later, the creature is on top of you, its hands grabbing your shoulders and forcing you down. The wine closes over your head. Roll 2 dice. If the result is less than your stamina, turn to 391. If the result is greater than or equal than your stamina, turn to 107. So basically this whole thing, it sounds like it's a place you should not go. So 107 and 391, and it's a stamina check. Less, greater. So I'm going to go to 391 because I'll presume it's going to be less. 391. By letting your shoulder, what is that? Bit of fluff. By letting your right shoulder drop, you manage to twist your body out of the creature's grip and punch with your left fist. You scramble to your feet and stumble towards the steps, knowing that flight is your only hope. Fear lends you strength, and you race up the steps and through the trapdoor before your pursuer can lay a hand on you. Hastily, you wedge the cask back over the trapdoor to prevent the creature escaping. As you lurch out of the shop, the slow, relentless pounding begins once more. Turn to 128. 128. So far, a whole waste of time, this whole village. You slip into one of the buildings nearby and try to find some clue to explain the mystery of the abandoned village. You quickly realize that you have entered the house of a wizard or herbalist. Fragrant drying herbs, arcane books and scrolls, and vials of colored liquids litter a desk in the corner to your right. To your left sits a rune-carved table, on which lies a half-eaten knuckle of cured ham. Across the far wall you see a row of puppets, dangling on their strings from a high shelf above a cupboard. If you go to look at them, turn to 244. If you examine the wizard's paraphernalia, turn to 333. So I was a bit curious about the puppets because they are the ones that I noticed in the picture on the left there. 333. So puppets, and I'll just do search. I'll just do that. I'll check out the puppets. 244. As you approach the row of puppets, your left foot squelches in something and skids. You have trodden in a sticky green footprint, one of a line which leads from the cupboard to the table and back again. The cupboard before you is crudely daubed with a rune, the sign of a single arrow. If you open the cupboard with your sword ready to strike, turn to 76. If you open it normally, turn to 37. Okay. Okay, I'm going to be ready to strike, I think. Let us see. Ready. Okay. It seems to make sense to be ready to strike. You just have enough time to glimpse a small, slimy green form cramped within the cupboard before you are engulfed in a choking cloud of gritty powder. You drop your sword and clutch at your face. Your eyes burn, your nose starts to run, and you retch violently. Lose 1 point of stamina. Stamina -1. Then whatever was in the cupboard comes tumbling out and worms its way between your legs. If you wish to make a grab at it, roll 2 dice. If the result is less than your skill, so skill test and 172 less and 194 greater or equal. I'm going to make that and succeed, which might not be a good thing. I'm grabbing something green and slimy. What's the worst that could happen, yeah? The creature tries to slither away between your legs, but you grasp it and force it down by sitting on its back. Although it is slippery and you are blinded, you manage to get a firm grip around its neck. You are about to bang its head on the floor when it begins to sob. You pause a moment while your vision clears, revealing the pathetic figure of a young girl, coated from head to foot in foul-smelling green slime. Cautiously, you release your grasp and pick up the slender blowpipe she used to puff the blinding dust at you, pocketing it. You ask the girl her name. Turn to 315. 315, and then there is a blowpipe. Okay. 315. A sip of water. She tells you her name is Mima, and that she is the apprentice of the enchanter Anthemesis. She knows little more than you of the reason why the village is deserted. She has stayed hidden in the cupboard for the last couple of days since her master left. Before going, he told her to remain hidden, and he coated her in the green paste, which he said would protect her. She tells you that the evening before his departure, Anthemesis had been very worried by a divination he had performed. He had told her that he had to undertake a dangerous journey to seek guidance from Alethea the sage who dwelled in the shifting forest in the mountains to the north. Then he had insisted that she should stay hidden. Sure enough, she had remained cowering in the cupboard while a terrible din came down upon the settlement. Terrified, she listened to the hideous shrieks of the townsfolk. Finally, silence descended on the village. Then you came. If you have not already searched the wizard's desk, you may do so now. Turn to 333. If you don't wish to, you may leave the house with Mima. Turn to 2. So I am going to 3, just all the way down there. And then there's also paragraph 2, which I'll just put over there, I think. 2. Leave. So 333. Rummaging among the vials and pieces of scrap paper on the desk, you come across a parchment, stained green by a sticky syrup which has spilled from a cracked bottle. You hold up the soggy sheet, straining to read the scrawl which covers it. You can't make out all the words, just occasional snippets. And do not leave the house until you are certain the danger is past. Under no circumstances allow ... Safe, then you should make your way to your parents' village by ... Find yourself in the shifting forest. You must follow the brush bearer's gloves or be lost forever ... So here there is some kind of clue. I'll just put a so I'll just put a clue which might be useful later. If you haven't already done so, you may go to examine the puppets and cupboard, or you may continue rummaging on the desk. Turn to 158 as well. Okay, so 158. So let's continue rummaging. Might as well. I've already done the puppets. You glance through the books and scrolls, but the rambling text means nothing to you. The vials look more promising. Though many are cracked and their contents spilled, a few remain intact. Of these, you salvage 3 which seem the least noxious, each containing an unexciting, cloudy brown liquid. Each is labeled in the same crabbed handwriting. You may risk drinking one or more of the liquids now, or you may take any or all of them with you. If you decide to take them with you, note down the name of each potion you take on your adventure sheet, together with a paragraph number which you should go to if you decide to drink it. You may drink one of these potions at any time that you would normally be able to drink a potion, that is, as long as you are not in battle. Remember, note down the number of the paragraph you are at before turning to the relevant paragraph for the potion you are about to drink, blah blah blah. Okay, each vial contains only 1 mouthful, so once you have drunk the potion, it has all gone. So we have potions. So I'll just put a note on the side here, 158. So 158 potions. And it is Gulch, Aral, or Zazaz. And that is paragraph 258, 285, or 369. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Once you have finished checking the potions, turn to 270. I'm not going to drink them now. If you have a blowpipe, turn to 2. I do have a blowpipe. Okay, so that's 270. And then we go to 2, or we go to 244. Or you may leave the building and make your way out of the settlement and turn to 22 from here, which is down here on my map. Okay, number 2. That's leaving with Mima. Holding Mima's sticky hand, you make your way back to your horse. You will have to deliver her safely back to her parents, and she tells you that she knows the way to their village. It is back the way you have already come, but to leave her unprotected would not be the action of a hero. Meanwhile, she is still covered in the green slime. If you decide to wash it off her, turn to 170, otherwise turn to 396. I think the slime should remain. It sounds like it might have some protective powers. 170 396. Wash or no. So 396, no washing. Leap up onto your horse's back, then hoist Mima up in front of you. Soon you are galloping back along the road which brought you here. You turn off the road leading back to Calamer and race along a narrow track which winds up the hillside. You can see the lands far about, and off to your left a lazy plume of smoke drifts into the sky from Mima's village. Tick off a time box. So we got a time box, 1 there, and 1 more box there. Turn to 95. Yes, that's the one I was looking for. 9, 5. Your attention is drawn to the far end of the valley, way off to your right. You shiver involuntarily, and the hairs on the nape of your neck rise. Your horse shies and whinnies in terror. A thick stench fills your lungs. The sparse slopes are being slowly enveloped by an advancing wave of black lava. Or so it seems. Your eyes adjust to the distance, and you see that the oozing black mass is not liquid, but a seething ocean of people. Even as you watch, it seeps closer, spreading like a dark stain. You have found the invading army, but will you survive to make use of your knowledge? There are many more people in the horde below than in Calamer's entire army. If you ride down into the valley to take a closer look, turn to 153. If you gallop off to your left to try to reach the village, turn to 358. Tough choice. Which might be better, one might wonder. So 1, 5, 3 or 3, 5, 8. Look or village. I'm thinking perhaps there is more of a clue to solving the problem by going to the village. So I'm going to go to 3, 5, 8. You spur your mare along the back of the ridge, desperate to reach the village in time to warn them of their peril. If Mima is with you, turn to 35. If not, turn to 125. So 35, Mima, or 1, 2, 5. No, but Mima is with me, so I'm going to go to 35. She knows all the shortcuts, I suppose, and she knows people in the village, which probably helps. Mima clings on for dear life as you spur your horse towards the village. As you approach the palisade, excuse me, the large gates swing open and you are beckoned in by a worried villager. Mima slips down from the horse and rushes into the arms of her parents. You waste no time in telling the people of the danger they're in. They grab what they can of their possessions and livestock before fleeing. Finally, you find yourself alone outside the deserted village. A huge black army is in sight now, steadily oozing down the valley towards you. It is time to make your own escape. Turn to 53. 53. The Black Horde is behind you. It is still many miles from Calamer, yet it is engulfing everything in its path. Although you know of no weakness in the enemy, surely Calamer should be forewarned. Evacuation may be the only means of survival. Tick off a time box. Will you write toward Calamer, try to find out more about the enemy, or search for Enthemesis the Enchanter if you recognize the name? That's probably the best solution, isn't it? Somebody has to know more about what's going on. And Enthemesis knew how to create a slime that somehow protected you from this scourge. So that is probably most likely the best solution. So Entheme enemy or ride back. So I'm going to see if I can find Enthemesis the Enchanter and see if he can help me in my quest. You ride northward into the mountains, making your way carefully through wiry, bleached grass. There are no paths in these parts, and the grass conceals potholes and ruts. Without guide or marker, you have no way of knowing whether you are traveling in the right direction, so you trust your instincts and keep the sun to your left all the time. Finally, you top a peak and gaze down at a cheerless plateau. The grass thins out and your heart sinks at the sight of the barren plain which stretches almost to the horizon. Then you spot something. Far out in the middle of the plain, screwing up your eyes, you stare intently at the small dot, perhaps a hut or the dwelling. You spur your steed down the slope and after a few hours' ride are at the fringes of the plain. You realize with alarm that the wind is rising. Without vegetation, the soil on this plain is dry and sandy, and it whips up around you, obscuring your vision and stinging your face. The horse rears, terrified, and you tumble from the saddle, your right foot tangling in its stirrup. Test your luck. Okay. Luck, and we got 54 or 77. Lucky and lucky. I'm not going to roll for that either. I'm going to be lucky and go to 70. Excuse me. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Of course, there's another risk why the phone might ring again. So you wouldn't really have noticed that I was away for a few minutes there, but I was. So what am I doing? I was just testing my luck, and I'm saying I'm lucky. So though you land painfully, you manage to grasp the stirrup in your hands and tug at it to calm your panicking mare. Grabbing her reins and bridle, you force her to the ground and hide behind her while the sandstorm rages around you. You wait for the wind to subside. Turn to 98. So I'm going to swap pages now. Go to 98 on page 3. So we have here FF32, page number 3, and I go to 98, which goes down to 77. When the dust finally settles, you find yourself staring at an expanse of forest. Its presence is inexplicable. You saw no sign of it before the sandstorm. There was some mention of a forest earlier, wasn't there? Intrigued, you approach and lead your horse along a faintly marked path between the trees into the silent forest. Soon the narrow path forks at a massive creeper-strewn tree with drooping foxgloves covering its roots. Looking around, you see the undergrowth is thick and impenetrable, and you resolve to tether your horse here before investigating further. If you take the left-hand path, write down the number 3 on your adventure sheet and turn to 268. Okay, why is the number... there's something you calculate based on your path now. I'm wondering if it's the distance you're traveling, so that it has to do with the length of time you eventually use. Okay, so 268, and it is 3, 388, and it is 2. If you examine the tree and the plants which cover it, turn to 356. Oh, that's, well, I missed that. I missed there was a third option there for a moment. 356. 6, sorry. Yeah, I'm going to check out the 356 first. The tree is gnarled with age and is being slowly strangled by the creepers which hug it. Foxgloves grow in profusion, all drooping elegantly to the left. Is that a clue that I should go left? Towards the sunlight which filters through the leafy canopy overhead. You may collect some foxgloves and store them in your pack if you wish. If you now proceed along the right-hand path, write down the number 2. Okay, so I'm thinking I'll take that as a clue to go left. So let's see, foxgloves. And go to 268. A little way down the path, you enter a small glade. In the center, you can see a slightly raised mound of loose earth with a neat circular opening just above ground level. From it protrudes a black human hand, scrabbling in the loose soil as if trying to get a grip. As you approach, you realize that the hand's color is caused by a crawling layer of ants. If you rush to the man's aid and try to save him, turn to 300. If you'd rather not take the risk, turn to 211. So, considering how far down into it he probably is too late. 211 and 300. I'm going to try anyway, because it's my first playthrough. I can do these sort of slightly silly, risky things. As you grasp the poor fellow's hand and start to pull, the ants begin crawling from his hand onto yours. By the time you have him pulled free of the anthill, your arm is a mass of biting ants, but they are driven from your mind by the sight of the man you have rescued. He is covered from head to foot with ants and seems none the worse for it. He is a symbiote, a foul mutant who lives with the ants that cover him in mutual cooperation. The ants which are biting your arms are beginning to draw blood. Lose 1 point of stamina. Stamina -1. And you realize that they are softening you up so that their host can overcome you. You must kill him before you are eaten alive. So that is, in that case, not the right choice. Every time the symbiote wins an attack round, more ants will crawl onto you and begin biting. Make a note of how many attack rounds the symbiote wins. When he has won 3, there will be so many ants on you that you will lose an additional 1 point of stamina per round. That's quite something. Okay, so 265. I'm going to defeat him, of course, because I'm saving time. And we are going to 265. Ants are still crawling all over your body, biting you viciously. Lose 1 point of stamina. You roll around in the dirt and beat them off desperately. You tear off your clothes and brush yourself with leaves, then beat your clothes against a tree to rid them of the pests. Down to 58. I'm sure I'm losing a lot of time from this particular exercise. Two paths lead out of the glade, one to your left and one to your right. You're just deciding which way to go when you are startled by an anteater, which waddles out of a clump of orchids and foxgloves to your left, making straight for the mound in the middle of the glade. Wishing him a hearty meal, you continue on your way. If you have 3 numbers written on your adventure sheet, turn to the paragraph they indicate. Otherwise, if you go along the right-hand path, write the number 1 after any other numbers on your adventure sheet and turn to what? Any other number? So if I've written, so can I put it after my stamina? Yeah. Okay, so there's some system of. So this is some way to sort of find the secret location, maybe to do. What is that hair doing there? Right, so right-hand path. So and 17, and then it's number 1. Left-hand path is number 2. Now the anteater came from the left. Maybe again I shall go with a sign and follow this sort of indications of left and right as and presume that's some kind of clue. So I'm going to go to 388. Of course, it might be the opposite, but yeah, there's a pattern anyway. You push your way carefully along the narrow path. After a short while, you begin to hear sounds coming from ahead. Treading carefully, you press on, expecting the worst. Suddenly you hear a loud crashing noise, followed by a shrill by Ugbar's fingers. This cursing is stifled by a loud shush, but other voices cry out, "Shall I shoot him now?" "Not until I give the signal." "What's the signal again?" Suddenly a voice shouts, "Now!" There is a twanging sound from the trees nearby, and a small bow shoots from them, landing at your feet. At the same time, a short, stocky figure leaps onto the path ahead of you, pointing a crossbow at you. "Aha!" he yells, and lets fly a bolt. Turn to 189. Okay, some really, really horribly inexperienced and useless bandits here, I suppose. The missile speeds straight at you, but too low, and passes harmlessly between your legs. There is a strangled yelp from behind you, and you turn to see a goblin with sword raised, staring in surprise at the bolt, which is protruding from his belly. "Nice shooting, Gawk. Next time I use the crossbow," he croaks and topples backwards. The goblin who fired the crossbow flings it guiltily aside and draws a small knife from his belt. He charges towards you with a curse, and you prepare for battle, but after 3 steps he is whipped off his feet and yanked violently upwards by a noose trap. "Got him," says a voice nearby, and yet another goblin comes into view, holding the other end of the rope. When he sees you, his jaw drops and he lets go of the rope, dropping his accomplice in a heap and fleeing. You chuckle to yourself and advance up the path, marveling at the goblin's incompetence. A little further on, you hear more goblin voices ahead. "Don't worry, Gobble. I'll pulp him," says a squeaky voice. You saunter confidently round a bend in the path, only to find yourself facing an enormous ogre, his tiny goblin-sized head glaring furiously at you. Behind him cowers the goblin you encountered earlier. Ogre, skill 10, stamina 12. That is quite a formidable opponent. 5, 4. Fight them one at a time, or go first. If you defeat them both, go to 166. I'm going to go to 166 because I will defeat them eventually and completely. You search the bodies of the ogre and the goblin, but they possess nothing but a few revolting morsels of meat. You carry on down the path some distance, noticing the huge clumps of foxgloves which grow on your right. So again, we have been given a left-right clue of some sort. After a while, you come across a path which turns off to the right. If you have 3 numbers written down on your adventure sheet, turn to the paragraph they indicate. I've only got 2. Write the number 3 after any other numbers on your adventure sheet and turn to 268. So 268, and now we've got left 3, 2, 3. So 3, 2, 3 are the 3 numbers. So next time we get a prompt for 3 numbers, that's what we'll do. If we carry straight on, write the number 1. Okay, but I'm going right because that's the clue as I can see it. 17 and 1. Okay. If you already have one of these numbers written down, you should choose the other option. Oh, okay, that's kind of peculiar, but there you go, 268. Oh, hang on. Yeah, a little way down the path, you enter a small glade. Oh, I've gone in a circle. 268 is down there. Oh. So that means I'm not going to fight the ants again, but go to 211. So there we go. Okay. As you watch, the ant-covered hand grabs a stick which was lying nearby. It then withdraws back into the hold, and you hear scraping noises coming from within. You're not entirely sure what is going on within the mound, but you are glad that you don't get involved. Turn to 58. Now, it's a bit bizarre that that encounter can happen twice since you already killed the person. Then I go to 58. 2 paths lead out of the glade, one to your left and one to your right, and then the anteater approaches, and then it says if you have 3 numbers, so now I've got 3, 2, 3. So from this paragraph, I am going to go off to 3, 2, 3 and see what happens then. And that paragraph doesn't make any sense. It says you raced around the room like a trapped rat before remembering the skylight above your bed. Okay, so this is something is poorly designed in the game right here. Because that shouldn't be possible. I mean, surely if you create paragraph numbers like this, they should be reserved for the particular purpose of yeah. Oh, I forgot to put a number 1 there. Okay, so that means oh, I see. Okay, so and 388. So I should have taken another turn earlier, possibly. Let's see, 388. There's no numbers there, is there? Oh, yeah, 2. No, hang on. No, I was misreading it now. If you already have one of these numbers written down. 3. Does that mean... Oh, if one of these... Oh, hang on. So does that mean that you can only do one number one time? Oh, if you already had one of these numbers written down, you should choose the other option. Oh, I see. Yes. Actually, I couldn't have chosen 268 earlier because I've already got a 3, which means it has to be 1, which means that that doesn't actually happen. And so that is a way to prevent you from going in circles as well. And I have to go to 17, which actually is the same as this one down here, by the looks of it. Yeah. So 1, 2, and 3, you can only see them once, and then you, yeah. So I have to go to 17. It makes more sense now. It was just a little bit confused there for a moment. The path begins to slope down, and you hear the sound of running water up ahead. Soon you reach the banks of a fast-flowing stream. After a while, you hear a crashing sound from the far bank. A large and ugly troll is battering his way through the undergrowth which lines the riverbank, towing behind him a green leafy sapling. If you swim across the river to attack the troll, turn to 233. I'll just put them up here. If you have a crossbow and wish to try to shoot the troll, turn to 147. If you remain quietly where you are, turn to 180. I suppose, was I given the option of picking up the crossbow in that previous encounter? I don't know. I'm not sure. Anyway. 2, 3, 3, 1, 4, 7, or 180. So quiet, attack, or shoot. I'm going to just go across and attack him. What's the worst that can happen? You dive into the river, and the worst that can happen is quite bad. You dive into the river, but way down as you are by your equipment, it is all you can do to resist the strong current which threatens to sweep you down river. Soon the troll spots you and begins to throw rocks at you. Struggling helplessly amid the wild water, you are a sitting target. A large rock strikes you on the head, and you are carried away by the current. Your sword is swept from your scabbard and is lost to the wild water as you sink into unconsciousness. Not very likely to happen, by the way, because if you can lose it in water, then you would definitely lose it riding a horse. Lose point of stamina, tick off a time box and turn to 89. Let's see. So, and that means that this is not the right option. There is one that is, let's see, just so lose sword, and then go to 89. I'm just going to do my save game feature there, I think, my finger bookmark, and say that I didn't, I just waited for him to see what happened and go to 180. The troll soon disappears off into the undergrowth, still dragging the sapling behind it. You splash your face with the river water and prepare to carry on, refreshed by your rest. Turn to 381, that sounds better. 381. But wasn't I supposed to have a crossbow? Let's see, did I pick up a crossbow? I'll just see if that was also a viable option now. It doesn't say you pick it up, but I know it was there. Is that an error in the text? Maybe you were supposed to have a crossbow by then. Is there another place to pick up a crossbow? Anyway, whatever the case is, it looks like you end up in the same place regardless, and go to 381. There is a faint path which follows the riverbank, and you make your way along it. After a short while, it plunges back into the forest. If you have 3 numbers written on your adventure sheet, turn to the paragraph whose number is given by the 3 digits. So I am at 3, 2, 1. In that order, yes. So 3, 2, 1. Otherwise, if you have the number 2 on your adventure sheet, add the number 3 and turn to 268. If you have the number 3, add 2 and turn to 388. So this is actually not as big kind of a maze. Not as big a maze as it might look because of the way it's constructed. So So I go to 381 or 268. So you can go back to 268. Okay. So 321. As you press on, you notice clusters of purple fungus growing on either side of the path. You have to pick your way carefully along the path to avoid disturbing them, in case they carry poisonous spores. You begin to remember tales told of southern forests, in which a hapless adventurer can lose himself in a maze of shifting trackways, wandering in circles until death from hunger and exhaustion catches up with him. Ahead of you, the trail divides into two. You may take the trail which slopes downwards slightly and to the left, or try the other which leads off to the right. Okay, in this case there actually is no indication, it looks like, of left or right. Well, left and a bit down. The other one just goes off right. Maybe a little bit down, because it's a kind of a new thing that is actually an up and down element to the path. I'm going to try that. Go to number 12. You forge ahead further into the heart of the forest. The trees seem to close in on you, crowding out the sunlight. The forest floor is now carpeted with rotting leaves, and you find yourself making moderate progress on the springy turf. The atmosphere is close and humid, and you begin to wheeze with the effort. Walking in this weather is exhausting. But it's nice and cool and humid because it's no sunlight, you would think. Stamina -1. Finally, lose 1 point of stamina as the hours are trudging past. Finally, you come upon a fork. If you take the right-hand path, turn to 366. If you take the left, go to 273. So is this another sort of set of moving in circle potential here? Let's find out. 366 right, 273 left. I'm going to turn left again. The trail plows straight through the trees, and you traipse along it for an hour or so with nothing relieving the monotony. Take off a time box and turn to 366. So that is the wrong path, certainly. And that is okay. You are beginning to lose all hope of ever finding your way out of this shifting maze of pathways when the trees ahead thin out and the trail leads into a large clearing at one luck point. So luck. And take off a time box. And another time box. Okay. Before you is one of the strangest dwelling places you have seen, a crude mud hut sitting proudly on 4 spindly legs, 20 feet off the ground. There are windows in its walls, but they are too high up for you to see inside. There is no sign of a door, even though you walk all the way round the hut. If you walk under the hut, turn to 254. If you try to climb its legs, turn to 202. If you wait to see what happens, turn to 145. So this is one of those occasions where the options are not necessarily obvious. Climbing the legs, no, I don't think. I think waiting and seeing what happens is probably the safest bet. Under, climb, or wait. I'm going to wait and see what happens. You sit and stare at the hut, looking for signs of life. There is a heat haze around you, and you realize how much your trek through the forest has tired you. If you have Saige's pomander, turn to 152. Otherwise, turn to 29. I do have the pomander. I don't know how not to have it, in a way. 152 and 29. Question mark. No, 152 for having it. And soon you become too impatient to wait any longer. You can hear faint movements from within the hut, but nothing more happens. You call out, but if there is anyone within the hut, they are ignoring you. You will have to take the initiative. If you walk under the hut, turn to 254. If you climb up one of the legs, turn to 202. So, in this case, waiting is actually not the correct option. We know that, so I'm just going to cross that out like so. I'm going to go under. As you step between the narrow legs, you notice an opening in the floor of the hut above you, which is what I was expecting, really. You are just wondering how on earth you are going to make it up there when the hut begins to lower, the spindly legs bending. You position yourself directly under the opening as the hut descends towards you. Turn to 372. Oops, wrong color. 372. So at this point, that is the correct option. I'll just mark that like so and go to 372. Inside the hut, there is none of the clutter you have come to expect from the dwelling places of magical folk. There is no furniture of any kind, no books or scrolls, not even a single vial of potion. Through the windows, set in the smooth walls, you can look out into the forest. Squatting in the middle of the floor is an old woman dressed in a rough shift. Her hands are raised above her head, and between them you see a shimmering vision floating in the air. In a swirling void hangs a wall of cells full of disheveled prisoners. She looks you in the eyes and speaks. A vision from your future, perhaps. Look closely. Look hard at the slaves of the abyss. Their souls are enthralled to its master, and you must rescue them before it is too late. This much I will tell you. If you wish for more, you must pay for it. Can you speak my name? Anthemesis, Alethea, Albudur, or I cannot. I cannot is an unusual name, but yeah, Anthemesis is what I'm hoping this is. But was Anthemesis, was that wasn't supposed to be the wizard in the forest, though? I heard something about it right at the beginning of. Was there no mention of something about the shifting forest? Let's see. Let's see what it says here. I'm presuming my character remembers it better than I have. Where was the shifting forest mentioned first? Or is that the Anthemesis? It was the first mention of it. Just recap a little bit for myself now. The beginning. 2, 3, 4. 140. Yeah, so that's it. So presumably then the only mention of this shifting forest was by Mima in that village, and so this is Anthemesis. So I'm going to, and certainly Anthemesis is the one I was looking for. But I'm just going to put all the options up here anyway, even though they should be mostly wrong. So 50, 80, 101, and 350. No. Albudur. Yeah. So let's try Anthemesis. Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't Anthemesis. I thought, yeah, because I kept thinking that was a man, wasn't it? But yeah, the woman cackles and the vision disappears. No, I am not he, though I know him. He was my last visitor, and his vision was the same as yours. My name is Alethea. Oh, so when I get to know that for future reference. Thank you. As she speaks, you feel a soft weight drop upon your shoulder. You turn your head to find yourself staring into the eyes of a serpent. You shudder and automatically grab for it, but it is too fast for you. In an instant, its thick coils are wrapped around your neck. Meet Caduceus, says the woman. Turn to 307. Excuse me. 307. The best companion of all is he, loyal yet independent, she says. You smile uncomfortably, praying that Caduceus will soon find something else to wrap himself around. Alethea continues. The plague which is upon this land is spread not by rats. She raises her arms above her head. Well, I haven't been close enough to know that they were rats, those creatures I saw. She raises her arms above her head once more and conjures another vision. It is the swirling cloud of huge black hornets. The vision disappears, and she speaks again. These parasites can steal a man's spirit with their stings, banishing it into the abyss and leaving his body a slave to evil. And what warrior can fight off foes so tiny? She pauses, as if deep in thought. Then begins to create another vision. There is one way they can be defeated. The untainted leaf of the Jira tree may be burnt to produce fragrant smoke that is fatal to these soul stealers. Okay, so we got a clue. Jira tree. A young Jira grows in the forest, but as the vision forms, her face drops and she lets out a gasp of surprise. A pile of loose soil marks the spot where a tree has been uprooted. Oh, is that the one the troll had? Turn to 282. Could be. Alethea is despondent, but you remember the troll you saw carrying a sapling by the banks of the river. Quickly you describe the tree to her, and she confirms that it is indeed the Jira. You must go at once and rescue the leaves, she says. I control the paths of the shifting forest. Follow the trail and you will reach the river. When you have the leaves, the path will lead you safely back to the glade where you left your horse. Be sure you never return to this place. I will not be so welcoming a second time. You hurry from the hut and along the only path leading out of the clearing. Minutes later, you reach the river at the spot where you saw the troll. You find his clumsy footprints in the soft mud and follow them into the forest. A little way in, you come upon him crouching by a large hole in the ground, vainly trying to poke the sapling into it. If you shot a crossbow bolt at the troll when you saw him earlier, turn to 269. If not, turn to 122. Okay, let's see, 269. Not bolt. I didn't really. The troll looks around cautiously as you approach, waiting for you to act. He doesn't seem hostile. He's more concerned with rooting out whatever he has trapped in the hole. He hasn't had much success yet, probably because his tiny brain hasn't thought of stripping the branches from the sapling, so it keeps catching on the edges of the hole. If you attack him, turn to 6. If you suggest he strips the leaves off his tree, turn to 345. So 345 or 6. Attack leaves. I'm going to suggest he takes the leaves off, and I can take them with me because it's the leaves I need, isn't it? And he can have this. Excuse me. Right, I'm back again. Sorry about that. Part of the job, and a very important part of the job as a husband, is to be available whenever your wife calls. Very important. Right, so I was going to suggest that the troll strips the leaves off the tree. And go to 345. And there it says, the troll looks first at you, then at the sapling, then at you again. His brow creases with effort as he ponders your suggestion suspiciously. Finally he grunts and begins to rip the branches from the sapling, flinging them all around. You race around after them, plucking the leaves and stuffing them in your backpack. The troll, meanwhile, uses his much-improved tool to lever a small, spiny creature out of the hole. He snatches his prey up greedily and rams it whole into his drooling mouth. A moment later he lets out a gurgling howl of pain, tearing at his throat maniacally. He leaps up and down, then he catches sight of you again. "You trick me," he croaks, and leaps to the attack. So, yeah. If you wish, you may escape after one attack round, turn to 248. If you defeat the troll, turn to 60. So I'm going to go to 60, but I'll also put up on my map that there is an escape to 48 ESC and 60 up there. You have solved the troll's indigestion problem quite effectively. There's a bit of humor in this book, actually. I must sort of take a little break from reading that, with the goblins and the troll, and it's quite a funny line, isn't it? He lies dead at your feet. Giving him no further thought, you make your way back to the trail which runs along the riverbank. Turn to 133. Now I'm going to swap pages now. Start on page 4, 133, coming from 60. Okay. The path follows the river downstream for some way before turning into the trees. Very soon you are back at the glade with the mighty oak, and pleased to see your horse still safely tethered, munching contentedly at the grass. You mount up and spur her along the path and out of the forest, glad to be away from the trees and their treacherous pathways. After several minutes you look back and are astonished to see a sparkling blue lake where the forest should be. Far off, in its midst, a tiny hut rises above the waters, supported by its familiar spindly legs. Alethea has many ways of discouraging unwelcome visitors to her realm, it seems. Now you have a weapon. It is time to confront the vast horde. Alone. Turn to 325. You turn your horse back towards the huge black army. Take off a time box. A brief ride brings you within sight of it, and you watch helplessly as it engulfs a small town in the valley below. Amid the multitude, a palanquin is borne aloft by willing hands, and above it hangs a pulsing black cloud. If you follow the army at a distance, turn to 70. If you ride down to the palanquin, I'm not sure. I'm not really familiar with that word. Turn to 368. If you have Jira leaves and wish to prepare them now, turn to 11. I suppose the Jira leaves is why I'm here, isn't it? Okay, so we've got 3 options. Okay, 70, follow 368 and Jira. So I'm going to go with the Jira leaves. You tear a strip of cloth from your breeches and tip the leaves onto it. Chopping a small branch from a nearby tree, you wrap the leaf-filled cloth around one end and bind it tight. You then decide to light the Jira torch and turn to 34. If you then decide to light the Jira torch, turn to 34. If you ride down to meet the army with it unlit, turn to 368. Which is the same as heading for the palanquin. So 34 and 34. Maybe it's best to light it when I'm down there. I'm going to save my game now just in case that is not the right option. But I'm going to check out this palanquin first. You spur your horse down towards the horde, trying to quell your rising fears. It is vast, and a foul stench wafts from it. As you near the bottom of the slope, hang on just 2 seconds, I need to just check this palanquin thing. It just annoys me if I'm not entirely sure how I'm supposed to. Oops. So it's a palanquin. Yes, palanquin is actually the way it's pronounced. So palanquin. Okay, now I know. Then you approach the hall. They take no notice of you, but the dark cloud above the palanquin begins to move in your direction, picking up speed. If you have a gyro torch prepared, turn to 138. Otherwise, turn to 113. So I'm going to put those options up here. So 138 torch. I do have it prepared. 138. Have you lit your gyro torch yet? If so, turn to 199. If not, turn to 171. Uh, 99, 171, and lit. 171. Not lit it yet. The black cloud is advancing on you with terrifying speed. You fumble with your tinderbox, cursing your clumsy fingers. Test your luck. Okay, so it's a good idea to light the torch before you approach, it looks like. Before you approach the palanquin. So 217 and 284. Unlucky, unlucky. A spark leaps from your tinder and lodges in the dry cloth. You cup your hands round it and blow frantically. The spark takes, and the gyro starts to smolder. Looking up, you see the pulsing blackness nearly upon you. So, 199, which is the same as having it lit before. The cloud of black hornets swirls around you, and you curse as the breeze picks up, dissipating the gyro smoke. The hornets are closing in on you. If you flee back up the hillside, turn to 386. If you make for the river which runs along the valley to your right, turn to 42. If you make for the cave entrance, you pass, turn to 106. What's the cave entrance? Did I see anything about a cave entrance? I don't think I noticed a mention of a cave entrance, but let's find out. So we got 386, hillside, uphill, there'll be more wind probably. A river, there might be less. You could, but the cave is probably the best way to go. If they follow me into the cave, of course, the smoke will definitely work. I'm going to try the cave. Luckily, the cave mouth is large enough to take both you and your horse, but a rude shock awaits you within. A pathetic caveman clutching a large bone leaps up to strike you as you enter, knocking the gyro torch from your hand. You draw your sword and attack. 7. If you defeat him within 5 attack rounds, turn to 144. I will. If you're still fighting after the end of 5 attack rounds, turn to 181, and I'm sure that's not a good thing. 5 R&D plus. 144 and less than 5 rounds. Okay, so I'm going to say I did it in less than 5 rounds. 144. You snatch up the extinguished gyro torch and set about relighting it. It is smouldering once more as the first hornets gather in the entrance to the cave. You rush to the back of the cave and watch as the clouds swarm towards you. For a moment you fear that the smoke is not harming the hornets. Then they begin to fall. Soon the cave floor is littered with dead and dying bodies. When you are certain that it is safe once more, you ride out and down towards the horde. Turn to 235. So that seemed to work the way I was intending. You dismount and face the multitude of blank-eyed peasants as bravely... hang on. Yes. Bravely as you can. Several of them set down the palanquin they bear, and from it steps a richly dressed man, his face deeply scored, his eyes burning with malevolence. A silent horde makes no move towards you, but the man gestures them to advance, his movements calm and deliberate. He speaks. You'll pay for the slaughter of my winged servants. You'll pay with your life. Before you stands the unsmiling general of this warped army. Calamer's fate lies in your hands. If you have the Reaver's bottle and wish to show it, turn to 55. Otherwise, if you know the spitting fly and wish to use it, turn to 260. Or you may attack him, turn to 65. So these indicate to me, of course, there are some items that might be crucial, essential, mandatory to defeat him now. Let's see, Reaver, spitting, or attack. Of course, I don't have the other things. I'll just have to attack and go to 65, which I'm sure doesn't work. You charge him, yelling your battle cry. He blocks your first slash effortlessly and then launches one of his own. You only half parry it, flinching under the impact. You are completely outclassed. He counters every blow instantly, while the steely eyes which are locked on yours betray no sign of his own moves. Finally, you sink to your knees, unable to resist the onslaught. I will be master of this land as I am master of the abyss, he says, and none are left to stop me. His sword scythes down. And that is, even though it doesn't say specifically, the end. Right, so there are a few items that I should be looking for. So the Reaver's bottle, question mark, spitting fly, question mark. Right, so that was an interesting, slightly different game book. I don't know exactly what happens now on the other choices you make. Maybe you have other aspects of this attack that needs addressing. Maybe it is in fact 3 different ways of solving the same problem in the end, unless you get sort of wrapped up in the same kind of quest, regardless of which of the 3 things you choose to begin with. I don't know yet. Probably what I will do is next time I will start from the beginning probably, and see if I can find these missing items that clearly seem to be essential in solving certainly this quest line of these hornets and this guy who is the master of the abyss. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed that. I quite enjoyed playing something a little bit different again. There's a lot of time left as well, which indicates to me that I probably should have spent longer time getting there. There's something that I haven't seen, and of course there might be other things. I need to get back to town as well and help out with the defense, of course, from the north as well. So yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. So goodbye for now. Bye bye.